welcome to my channel, your ABA Help. My name is Sarah Elmwine, and today we're going to be talking about the new 2026 RBT requirements. The need to know quick details of what to expect in 2026, whether you're a BCBA, BCABA, RBT already. This video is good for those who are interested in the field and coming into it. How do you become an RBT with these new requirements? What do you need to know? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have my notes, I'm ready, so let's go ahead and get into it. A quick overview of what we're going to be discussing today. So we're going to be hitting on the new exam contents in the outlined areas, the completely redesigned 40-hour course work that's required for somebody that wants to become an RBT. They've completely redone it. We have the longer recertification cycles we're going to talk about. We have new RBT CEU requirements, and also we have an updated application and eligibility requirement. That's a quick little note at the end for that. Go ahead and talk about why this all matters to your career, and where we're going to start with that is number one. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the new RBT exam. So RBTs are now doing that. They're moving to the next edition starting in 2026. So what this means is the third edition RBT task list is going to have a new outline, and it's also called the Test Content Outline, TCO. So if you see those two terms, those are interchangeable. Third edition and the TCO, same thing. So we have the new requirements. There's going to be a link down in the description box where you can click and really read through all of this information that I reference. However, on the screen, we're going to talk about the new TCO exam requirements.
We've got data collection and graphing at 17%, behavior assessment at 11%, behavior acquisition at 25%, behavior reduction 19%, documentation and reporting 13%, ethics is at 15% of the exam.
If you're interested in becoming an RBT, this is definitely an area you're going to want to get familiar with, because this is going to be your test. It's going to be the content and the things that you need to know to pass that exam. There are going to be 43 total task areas. This is up from 37. So we have 37 previous content areas that an RBT needed to know. Now we've got 43. So love to see that change. They reorganized some of the domains, they made some of the wording more clear, and they've even added some new areas. So the new areas are summarizing data and identifying trends on the graph, so being able to look and analyze graphs, recognizing risk of unreliable data, so understanding the potential outcomes if you're not taking reliable data, implementing punishment and timeout procedures under supervision, so specifically hitting in on the ethical discussions with those punishment procedures. And then also more ethics tasks are discussed, like managing gifts and practicing culture of humility, just keeping the task list up to date with today's current needs are big things you're going to see on that exam when it comes to the third edition in 2026. Like I said, if you want to read through it fully, follow this link and that will give you all the information that you need. We're not going to go through it all today. If you guys want, I can make a separate video and really talk about it. However, this will get you started. All right, number two, we are going to be talking about the 40-hour training and all of the new requirements with it. This is a big redo, a big reset, which I'm very excited about. It's definitely a long time coming. They have some new requirements in different areas of focus that I'm excited about. So we're going to talk about it. As of January 1st, 2026, every new RBT must complete this brand new structured 40-hour curriculum, which the BACB now spells out in detail. We finally got all that information. So there is, again, going to be another link down in the description box for you to reference to see all these different areas, because it really breaks it down even further than what I'm going to do. So definitely recommend checking that out if you're curious what these new RBTs are going to be learning in their 40-hour training. And again, remember, the 40-hour training is what you need to complete along with that exam that we just talked about in order to become an RBT. Another big change too is each module has a specific amount of hours that need to be dedicated to it. We had this previously, but it wasn't done as specific as what we're seeing in this new expectation for 2026. So we're going to quickly go through what the different modules are and how much time is expected to be spent on each of those modules. First one is Introduction to ABA. We're looking to spend 2 hours on that now. Number two is Preparing for Service Delivery, 1 hour. Number three is Data Collection and Graphing, 3 hours. So lots of emphasis on that. Number 4 is assisting with assessments, 3 hours. Number 5 is behavior change intervention, 20 hours. So that's gonna be half of your certification. For your 40-hour certification can be spent on behavior change interventions. Next, number 6 is service documentation and reporting. That's gonna be 3 hours. Number 7 is ethics and professionalism, 5 hours. Number 8 is next step in your certification and recertification cycle, 1 hour. So that's kind of a brief overview of that. Like I said, check out these resources. It goes much further into each little sub point of these different modules and what needs to be covered. Another big change that they've made is in order to teach this RBT 40-hour training course, you need to be a BCBA or BCABA. That means that we aren't going to have any of these outside entities coming in and producing this content. You must be directly involved with the field, which I think is a great requirement. I'd love to see that. They also have to have the 8-hour supervision course in order to create this content and put it out there. So again, you've got to be involved in the field and you got to be an active participant in order to be creating this content, which I love to see that. Lastly, this new certification has a special name. So when you are a new RBT in 2026 and you're looking at what courses you're going to take, make sure it says RBT 2026 40-hour training certificate. Your certificate has to say that on there. They have very specific requirements on what must be on that certificate this time around, okay? So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you know what to look for. All right, number 3. So this one, I honestly didn't see coming personally. I'm interested to see how it's gonna play out. I don't really have an opinion on it, but great news for current RBTs. You are now going from a 1-year recertification cycle. Every 1 year for when you pass your RBT exam, you would need to do a recertification, a recompetency, submit it, all of that. They're doing away with all of that. So now your new requirements as of 2026 is every 2 years. So you have whole 2 years before you're going to renew your RBT certification. And with that, you're not going to do the competency assessment anymore. So let me break that down. When you are becoming a brand new RBT, you're going to have your competency exam, that you're still going to have that initial competency exam, that little checklist that's going to go off. I have another video on that, but you're going to go through that. You're going to go through your 40-hour training course, and then you're gonna also do your RBT exam. Those 3 requirements are there still. However, once you become an RBT, you have 2 years, and then you're gonna be submitting some CEUs, which we're gonna talk about in a minute. But that will be your proof that you still know what you're doing as an RBT every 2 years. Interesting, right? So it makes everybody's life a little bit easier, but I am curious to see how it impacts the field as a whole with this change. Number 4. So if you are planning on becoming an RBT, pay attention to this one specifically. So in January 2025, the board had made some changes to the application process to prepare for 2026. So there's some things already in motion. However, there's a new certification application process that we're all practicing, getting ready for the 2026 standards. If you are training in 2025, make sure you're familiar with this, especially if your training might go into 2026, because the day January 1st hits, you have to follow the new edition requirements. You have to follow the new requirements. Even if you started under the old edition, we see that a lot. We see a lot of discrepancies there. Be careful. Keep in mind, there's a big change in the cost of these new cycles and these new requirements. So something you might not know, if you are becoming an RBT, some companies pay for it, some companies require you to pay for it, it just depends. However, your initial cost in order to become an RBT currently, under all the 2025 requirements, is $50. 2026, they're gonna move it to $65. And then every 2 years, you have that renewal cycle. You submit everything you need, and you're renewing your RBT for an additional 2 years after that. So you currently have to pay $35 yearly. And now it's gonna go to $50 every other year, every 2 years. Sorry, basic math. Cheaper overall, because $35 every year, so every 2 years that'd be $70. So saving $20, I guess. Depends on your perspective there, I guess. Again, some companies might pay for this for you, some might not. So just something to keep in mind as that certification cycle comes up. that can definitely be a barrier. All right, section number 5. I'm most excited to talk about this one. This is a huge change for our field, probably the biggest change yet, I would argue. RBTs are now going to be required to do CEUs. Specifically, 12 hours of professional development courses are going to be required every 2 years. They do their recertification cycle. So this comes out to about 6 hours a year. So 6 hours your first year, 6 hours your second year. You're going to be looking at 12 hours professional development. They are similar to the BCBA and BCABA requirements in the sense of you can do them in training with your company or your BCBA while you're with the client talking about overarching behavioral concepts. So you can do them in service delivery. You can do them through an ACE provider. There's going to be RBT events that are held specifically catered to provide these professional development opportunities to RBTs. Right now, there's not too many advertised. There's going to be more soon, though. It's absolutely coming. So you could go through events, or you could do online trainings. There's going to be, free things. There's going to be things that cost money. There's going to be groups and classes and all of that. There's going to be lots of cool things that I'm sure are going to come out. I'm sure the big companies are going to be putting out their own individual different training courses for RBTs and professional development and all of that. Sure, they're already working on it. The third thing that you could potentially get your CEUs from is your coursework. So if you are becoming a BCBA or BCABA, you're in school in order to achieve that goal, you can use that coursework that you are doing to go towards your professional development. So that's pretty cool. There'll be more guidelines on exactly how to document and submit all of this, I'm sure, as it gets closer and we look to having to submit all of that paperwork. There are still some unanswered questions for me, and the answers might be out there. If I figure them out, I will put them down below, but some for me are the current RBTs that are on the 1-year renewal cycle. Will they automatically go to 2 years? So like every RBT that we renew in 2026 isn't going to, and they're automatically going to jump to 2027? Not sure. I'm sure the board is going to be putting out some bulletins on it and some guidelines. If you happen to know, let me know down below. I'd be curious if any of you guys know kind of the driving forces behind some of these decisions. I'm not too in tune to the RBT world and who's making these decisions and why. I am very curious to learn more though. So like I said, leave it down below if you have any insight. And keep in mind, this matters because at the end of the day, these are changes that are setting the bar in our field, hopefully trying to move it up, trying to increase the quality of services that we're giving, especially as this field grows and just tremendous amount of RBTs are currently practicing day in and day out. So it's good to see some attention to this matter. If you're a BCBA running an RBT training program, it's time for you to start planning those curriculum updates. You need to have it ready to go because January 1st, it is time to shine. If you are an aspiring RBT looking for training programs, make sure you are familiar with the new requirements. There will be a little grace with this in terms of the board, looking at your request to please accept my 2nd edition coursework for the 3rd edition. Very unlikely they're going to be willing to bend on that, so make sure you are educating yourself and being careful on that. If this video was helpful, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a ton. Hit subscribe to stay updated on all of these upcoming changes. We can talk more about it, and whatever question you guys have, leave them down below and we can talk further about this topic because it's important. We need to know this. And I have all of the documents and resources I've referenced in this research linked down below from the BACB and different websites. So feel free to check those out to save yourself some time. Make sure you read the official rules. You understand it for yourself. I'm just a BCBA, so if I got something wrong, I apologize. We're figuring this all out together, all these big changes. But in the meantime, stay ethical, stay compassionate, stay informed, and subscribe for more ABA content, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you stay safe as well. Bye, guys.